Hey everybody, David the Pro Solo Flipper here. Gonna put together a video today about how I source at thrift stores. So if you saw my last two videos, I did one about how I source at auctions and the other one on how I source at garage sales. So I figured I might as well put one together about thrift stores, which is probably the one I spent the way I source most of the time, or how I spend most of my time sourcing, I guess I should say. So thrift stores. Like I said in my last video, this is going to kind of depend on where you live. I live in a smaller area, so I don't have as many options for thrift stores as maybe some of you do. I basically live in a town that has three pretty good thrift stores. So we have a Goodwill, we have a Deseret Industries, which is run by the LDS Church, if you haven't heard of that. And then we have a Idaho Youth Ranch. So all three of those are pretty good. Um, and then we do have a couple smaller ones that aren't as good. That they just don't get very much merchandise. We have a few other ones that I just rarely, if ever, go to. One of them is just a really small one. It's a nonprofit. I go there occasionally, and I've got some really good stuff there occasionally. But the other two, I think, are for profit. So they're just run by people who want to own a thrift store. Um, and so I don't go to those because one, they typically don't have that great of stuff, and two, they want too much for it because they're trying to make a profit, right? In fact, the one, I think I see them sourcing at the other thrift stores all the time. So they buy from one thrift store to put stuff in their thrift store, or I see them at garage sales too, or whatever. But which is fine, you know. I wouldn't be opposed to an idea sometime of at some point. I probably won't ever do it, but I kind of like the idea of having um, a store front as well. Ideally, it would be something like if you follow Craigslist Hunter. If you don't, I highly recommend him. Pete, Craigslist Hunter, has his own almost like a pawn shop kind of a deal. So he has people bringing him stuff all the time, which is ideal, right? My only thing is I don't want to have store hours and be at the store at a certain amount of hours. I like working from home. I like the flexibility of going to do whatever I want during the day. So that's the reason I don't think I would ever do it. But anyway, I'm getting a little off track here. So back to thrift stores and how I do it. So like I said, we have three in our town that are pretty good that I will hit each time I go thrift shopping or whatever. And typically, I would say on average, I go 2 or 3 times a week. Not usually on the weekends. I usually will just go. Historically, I've been going on Mondays because I would always used to take my packages to the post office on Mondays because I didn't want because there was just more than usual, so I didn't want to have to deal with having them picked up. But these days, I'm having so many packages picked up that I'm just having package pickup done 6 days a week. So that's not really a motivation for me to go to the thrift store on Mondays anymore, just because I was going to go to town to deliver packages. However, I am sending more and more stuff via FedEx, so that requires me going to town to drop that stuff off. So that going forward, that's probably going to how I'm going to determine if I'm going to go to thrift shops. Is it will be on the days that I have to go to FedEx. If I have to go to FedEx every day, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to figure something out about that because I don't want to have to go to town every day. Anyway, so I will typically go 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes I will only go once or twice. Sometimes I will go 4 or 5. It just depends on my mood and what I feel like doing. That's the great part of being a full-time reseller. Um, so as far as my methods or whatever, um, I don't really have a method as far as when I go. I typically have gone in the mornings because I like to get my packages off at the post office or the FedEx right away in the mornings, and then hit the thrift stores when they open, kind of a thing. That's kind of how I've typically gone it. Although I'm starting to think that maybe that's not the best method. Maybe the best method would be to get there when they're putting out a lot more new inventory. And I've noticed that at least at one or two of them, they're not usually putting out stuff early in the morning. So I don't know what that means for me. Maybe I'll just switch up the order I do. I think that's probably what I'll do. But they're not open right now, so I guess we'll see what happens, right? So, or actually in Idaho they are open now. Not all of them. They just barely opened here back up here in Idaho, but not all of them are open. 2 out of 3 are open, and they have amended hours right now, and only one of them is actually taking donations right now. Um, so basically, my method when I go into the thrift store is about getting as much stuff in your cart as fast as possible. Um, and the reason I do that is because almost always when I'm there, I don't know how it is when you're. I'm sure it's the same for everybody everywhere. If you're a full-time seller, reseller at least, you're going to see the same people every day that are also resellers. And so there's a little bit of competition. Call it friendly competition or whatever. There's not really, I don't certainly don't fight with anybody here in my area. Um, some are friendlier than others, and some are just cordial, and that's fine. I'm not the friendliest. It's not that I'm not friendly. I just know I'm not super talkative or whatever. I'll talk to a couple of people, but most people I just kind of say hi or smile at or whatever, and go on with my day. Um, but basically, there's going to be a little bit of competition right there. So sometimes you see certain resellers are in the store that source almost exactly the same way you do, and so you kind of want to be a little more urgent about getting stuff. So rather than going to look at thing and then look it up, decide if it's worth buying, and then putting it back or putting it in your cart, and then going to the next thing and looking up comps. A better method would be to just grab everything that looks like it has potential. This is kind of seems like maybe it would be more work, but it's just I don't think it is. It's just kind of rearranging the order that you do things. So if you know I guess you don't have to do it if you know you're there alone, but um, it just gives you the best chance of getting more stuff and before somebody else can pick it up. So what I will do is I'll just go through the store, and I usually have a route that I'll take through my whole store. Depending on the store, I'll hit certain parts at certain times, and I'll kind of hit the same order every time I go there. And so, for example, at one store, and it just depends on the layout of the store. Sometimes it depends on if they have new racks out or stuff like that. So at one store they put up new clothing that they put over in the corner so that they can kind of be tagging it or hanging it up in between customers. So if I come in and there's new stuff over there, I'll hit that stuff first. So the best thing to do is say if anything looks like it's worth looking up or you want it, put it in the cart and move on. Then they bring out carts of new stuff in the aisle and just park it there, which I think is great. I think all thrift stores should just bring out their new merchandise, let it sit there and let people go through it, and then put it away. I don't know why. I don't know why they would want to do that because it would save them time having to put stuff away. But anyway, so they bring out carts of stuff, so I will hit those next. Go through all the carts, see if there's anything there. If there is, just put it in the cart. Then I'll move to the electronics. Same thing. I'll go through it. Anything that has potential, I'll stick it in my cart. Um, and then I kind of work my way over to the sporting goods and like the industrial type tool hardware type section. And then last, I'll kind of work my way through the shoes and then the clothes. And sometimes that'll change. If I notice that there's a bunch of new stuff in some section, then I might do that section first. But the point is to get everything in your cart before somebody else can get it. And then what you would want to do is just find it, maybe even grab a second cart and go find a spot out of the way and start going through it, putting the stuff that you want to keep in one pile and the stuff that you want to get rid of in another pile or cart or however you want to separate it out. Meanwhile, you want to be looking up comps to make sure it's worth it. And two, you want to be really looking over those items well to make sure that they are in good condition. So there's nothing more frustrating than getting something home. This is the worst part you can do, right? Is get something home, pull off the tag, and then notice that there's something wrong with the item. And obviously, this most often happens with clothes. So, and I still do it. It's just going to happen because I'm not as careful as I should be all the time. But hopefully, I think I'm doing it less than I used to do it. Um, so basically, you just want to get everything in your cart that has potential before anybody else can get it. And then you want to go through it all. Like I said, look up comps, make sure it's going to make you money, make sure it's in good condition, there's nothing wrong with it, and then put all the other stuff back. And meanwhile, at any point, watch for stuff coming out, new stuff. I almost always abandon what I'm doing and go look at whatever they're bringing new. Because almost always you can get not almost always, but quite often, you can get one or two items off of that new rack And that's just easy pickings, right? If they're just bringing it out. So, and if you don't, then they might start putting it away in an area that you've already looked, and then you will miss out on that stuff completely. So, anyway, that's it. This is gonna be a short video. I feel like need to start making shorter videos anyway, because a lot of times I make these 23-minute, 25-minute videos, and my average watch time on them is only like 8 minutes. So people just aren't making it. I think they get bored or their attention span gets shortened. But I'm going to start trying to make some of these shorter ones too. I can seriously talk all day about reselling. So, and if you knew me in regular life, you'd be surprised because I don't talk very much. But I get very chatty, and I have to catch myself sometimes when I'm talking to my wife, because I'm sure she gets bored listening to me. But anyway, that's it. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know. I read all the comments, and if you have any questions, I can answer them for you. You can follow me on Instagram as well, Pro Solo Flipper. And as always, I'll have my spreadsheet available and my selling guide available in the links in the description if you're interested. Looking forward to garage sale season the most, but I love thrift stores. It's just something I enjoy doing for a couple hours every time I go out. And it's just a lot of fun to be able to find stuff that way. So anyway, good luck to you guys finding stuff. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks for watching.